In recent months, we've had several high-profile stories about college athletes taking their own lives. It's tragic and devastating to read these stories, but we cannot ignore the core issue here, mental health. And mental health is an important thing for all of us to be talking about. Don't get me wrong here, but let's focus on college athletes just for now. Those students are just that, students, but they also take on high-pressure roles in athletics while also balancing everything else that comes with the college experience. And talking about mental health with college-age students can be tough, but that conversation is front and center at Boise State, and it has been for the last several years. The student-led program, BroncoBOLD, launched in 2019, and it's designed to spotlight mental health among athletes, coaches, and staff at Boise State within the athletics department. And the program is led in part by Boise State Athletics Director of Athlete Performance and Psychology, Stephanie Donaldson. And BroncoBOLD focuses on three major areas of mental health in the mental health conversation: reducing stigma, raising awareness, and cultivating resilience. We wanted to highlight the important conversations at Boise State because we think it's really important and we think it's a crucial conversation. So we sat down with Stephanie Donaldson earlier to talk about those tough conversations and how Boise State is addressing mental health head on.
BroncoBOLD is our student athlete initiative for mental health and suicide awareness and prevention. And so it's truly a student athlete led initiative, and it's based on education, prevention, building awareness on our campus and also our community, and just really opening the conversation about mental health and creating an open narrative where we can talk freely and really normalize those conversations. I was a student athlete in college. I swam a very long time ago, and I definitely struggled with my mental health, but it was a time that we didn't talk about it. And so I fortunately, at the time I thought it was unfortunate, but I had a coach who made me go to counseling, and he said, you gotta go. And so I begrudgingly went, and I thought at the first part of it, this isn't working, I don't like this, but eventually I found someone who it was life-changing. It made a huge difference in my life, and so that's the reason why I do what I do today, because for me, it was a life-changing experience.
I think the name BOLD is really important because, as you and I talked about before we were recording, these are tough conversations to have, and there's a whole generation and generations that never even talked about it.
Right.
It does take some bravery and some boldness to bring this front and center and say, we're going to talk about suicide, and it's going to be a serious and difficult conversation. How difficult, though, is it to get that rolling and be kind of part of the first group to break through that barrier and say, we're going to talk about this?
I think I've noticed just a huge shift generationally, and our student athletes, they want to talk about it, and they want to be open about it. They want to create this environment that we're able to have these conversations. And so I think that's amazing, and really it provides a lot of hope for the future moving forward. And so while they are difficult conversations to have, if we start together as a collective whole, we really can change the narrative, and we can change the way we talk about it, and we can create an environment where people don't feel like they're so alone, because so often, especially recently, the student athletes who have died by suicide, to the outward world, they seemed happy. Teammates, coaches, everyone said they were excited about life. They had future plans, and no one saw the warning signs. And sometimes we miss those warning signs, or there are no warning signs. And so really, by opening conversations long before it gets to that point, we've created doors and avenues that can be open to get help and to talk about it.
What's the experience been like for you watching this from the inception of it to where we are today? Has it become easier to have those conversations, or is it still remain as difficult as it was at the beginning?
That's a great question. I think it has, we've been moving forward. It has become, I don't know if easier is the right word to say, but it has become more prevalent. Those conversations, especially following COVID, I think everyone in the world realized, oh, mental health is really a thing that I've got to pay attention to. And so I think with that, it also opened the doors to start more freely having the conversations. And we see athletes at high levels speaking out on their own mental health and the importance of seeing mental health just the same as physical health.
Well, you see someone like Simone Biles on the biggest stage at the Olympics talk about her mental health candidly, not compete. What kind of conversations does that create for you and student athletes here?
I think it really helps not just the student athlete be able to talk about it, but someone maybe who's never even involved in athletics, because you see someone who is at the top of their sport, the elite of the elite, who we think of as someone of being so strong physically and mentally, and if they can talk about it openly and then they can express, hey, I've struggled, there creates a lot of relatability there, and it helps other people to be vulnerable and to say, hey, if they can be struggling, then it's okay if I'm struggling too.
The Broncos Bold team has some great resources and info on their website for student athletes and the community in general. They work with the community as well. It's not just about the athletes. And we're going to link those resources to our website, ktvb.com, in this story. And very importantly, if you or someone you know needs help, please, please, please reach out to the Idaho Crisis and Suicide Hotline. That number is on your screen right now. You can call or text anytime. Of course, all calls and texts are anonymous and confidential.